This is the NXT June 24, 2025 full show results video. The show started with a match between Josh Briggs vs Trick Williams for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. We see Trick floats out of a chokeslam, Josh counters a powerbomb, chokeslam connects on the second try but Williams gets a hand on the ropes. Back and forth, trading kicks, pump kick from the champion, Briggs cuts him off, short arm lariat. Moonsault, nobody home, and then Trick charges, hits Trick shot, and the result of this match was Trick Williams defeated Josh Briggs by pinfall, retaining the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Post-match, Trick gets on the mic and he says he went from carrying him to carrying two brands at once and claims he's the greatest TNA World Heavyweight Champion of all. Joe Hendry's music plays and he appears behind Trick. He clobbers Williams with a couple lariats and sends him out of the ring to boot. We get footage of no quarter catch crew bickering earlier today. Tavian Heights was injured training and Charlie Dempsey tries to get him to back out of his match tonight, but Tavian says he's cleared and the doc gave him a protective face mask and nothing's gonna stop him from beating Jordynne Evans and getting out of NQCC. Back from the commercial, Miles Bourne is chatting with some football men whose names don't stay on screen long enough for me to catch. Lexus King rolls up to be a jerk and speak real loud at the deaf guy. He offers advice and Miles says he's not interested and they're not alike. King calls the football guys losers and they take offense, so he backs down in a hurry. The next match happened between Jordynne Evans vs Tavian Heights, and the result of this match was Jordynne Evans defeated Tavian Heights by pinfall with a double jump tornado. Post-match, Jasper Troy appears out of nowhere and takes Evans out with a Bossman slam. We get a recap of D'Angelo family business, including some social media business where Noam Dar is hurt again and got stripped of the NXT Heritage Cup, and Luca Cruzifino got Tony D'Angelo the match for the vacant cup against Channing Stacks Lorenzo, earning some of Tony's trust back, all while Stacks still claims Luca is working as his consigliere. The next match happened between Ashante the Adonis vs Ricky Saints, and the result of this match was Ricky Saints won the match by pinfall with Rochambeau. Post-match, All Ego Ethan Page appears on the Tron but his video shorts out on the screen. In any case, he attacks Saints from behind, thinks better of Twisted Grin before hitting a Rochambeau of his own. Dark State get a promo branded by Progressive Insurance, because nothing says making your insurance payments like a gang of wrestling vigilantes. Oba Femi makes his entrance and gets on the mic and he talks about his title reign and how he's defeated all comers, turning capable contenders into footnotes on his legacy, and now he sits comfortable atop the pedestal. This is where it gets dangerous, and other men might coast and bask on the euphoria of their victories, but the ruler isn't any man. He gets restless where there's no contenders, because he craves the fight, he enjoys it, he embraces it, and he needs challengers and welcomes anyone who thinks he can stand up to the ruler himself. Yoshiki Inamura, perfect specimen of masculinity that he is, answers the call. He says he came to NXT to chase glory, but when it didn't come, he went home to Japan and realized all the things he missed. His partner and best friend, Josh Briggs, for one, and also NXT as a whole, because he loves NXT, the culture, the passion of the fans, and he wants to pay them back by becoming NXT champion. He wants to go bigger, and Oba Femi is certainly bigger. Femi says they have in common being strangers in strange lands, and he made this place his home a long time ago and he has thrived, and that's where they're different. Inamura's had his struggles and left, but they have embraced him for coming back and turning the tide with a smile on his face. But he can't fool Oba, he sees beyond the smile, he sees underneath the fighting warrior, the spirit that craves the fight, and fighting for the crowd's honor is a big mistake, because when you face the ruler, you fall like everyone else. Inamura gets in his face and says he's ready. As Yoshiki leaves, Jasper Troy freight trains him and confronts Oba Femi from the apron. Izzy Dame rolls up to chat with Tatum Paxley and gives her gift and asks her to be in her corner in the main event. Sol Ruka and Zarya roll up and Dame snipes at Zarya, saying the title her best friend holds is as close as she'll get to the title. Dame walks off and Tatum follows her and runs into Nico Vance and Sean Spears, and Izzy introduces them and Spears says they have their eyes on some gold of their own. Back from the commercial, Trick Williams berates the high-rise backstage and Wesley informs him that he's gonna be whooping Joe Hendry's ass next week. Williams likes the sound of that and tells them that if they take care of Joe for him he'll owe them all. Then we saw a match between Channing Stacks Lorenzo vs Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Heritage Cup, and the result of this match was Channing Stacks Lorenzo won the match by pinfall with a Buseku knee to the back of the head, going up 2-1 and winning the NXT Heritage Cup. Post-match, Stacks celebrates with the cup and Luca Cruzifino tries to help Tony D'Angelo up, but the Don's not having it and drops him with a right hand, and Tony says he doesn't trust Luca or Stacks and takes his leave. Fatal Influence are interviewed backstage and talk about how they showed Blake Monroe where she fits in their division. Jacy Jayne talks about watching the first Evolution as a fan and thinking if there was ever another she'd be on it, and here she is. Back from the commercial, Thea Hale is chatting to a bunch of the LFG kids about her trials and tribulations when Lainey Reed rolls up to tell her she's getting played like a fiddle and to calm down. Lash Legend rolls in to tell them to save this and solve it later because right now they need to watch her get things done. Ava Raine confronts all ego Ethan Page backstage and he says Ricky Saints got what he deserved and he's been trying his best to be on his best behavior but Ricky keeps pushing his buttons. Ava calls him pathetic and says she's sick of this and he says he's sick of it and she just has to make sure Saints stays far away from him. She tells him that they both need to be in her office next week to settle the problem. All Ego says he'll solve it on his own terms and gets his phone out to call Vanity Project. We hear a clattering and Ava rushes over to see Hank and Tank laid out with no sign of their attackers. Joe Hendry is interviewed backstage and he says he thinks about losing the title to Trick Williams every night but he's focused on winning his title back at Slammiversary. He says Wes Lee has forgotten where he came from, but he's gonna remind him next week. Back from the commercial, we get a Chase U vignette where Andre Chase says what he told Cale Dixon last week was 100% fact, and they all need to toughen the fuck up. Uriah Connors says he's tripping and he's created a toxic environment. Andre says they need to respect his experience but Cale tells him that attitude created Chase U and destroyed it. They go to leave and Chase has a flashback and considers what they said. In the main event of the show, we saw an NXT Women's Championship 1 contenders match between Izzy Dame vs Jada Parker vs Jordynne Grace vs Lash Legend. Lash catches Jada with a straight suplex and kips up, Dame in now. She and Legend get into a shoving match, Grace and Parker pull them off but get laid out and Izzy goes back to Lash. Grace and Parker now, front kick, back slap, Jordynne with the bridging fisherman suplex, cover for 2. Dame pulls Grace into the corner, chops and forearms, fireman's carry flapjack but Legend breaks it up. At ringside, Paxley grabs Parker's leg while she hits the ropes. Dame clocks Parker. Sol Ruca and Zarya march down to ringside, then Zarya picks up Paxley and carries her to the back. Parker with a back elbow in the corner, Dame climbs up with her, lashes up there with her, Grace gets on top of the pile, hits Sunset Flip Tower of Doom. Recovering, Parker off the ropes, hip attack to Jordynne, the match breaks down into everybody do something cool territory, Legend hits the spin out bulldog on Jada but Grace breaks it up with a slingshot double stomp. In the end, Jordynne Grace hits the Jordynne Grace a spin out Argentine powerbomb on Jada Parker, and won the match by pinfall, becoming the #1 contender to the NXT Women's Championship. She will face Jacy Jayne at Evolution for the NXT Women's Championship, and the show goes off the air. How much you would rate this week's NXT show? Tell me the comments, and thanks for watching.